A very warm welcome to all of you for this session. Today we will be discussing the definition of human trafficking. We have seen that human beings are sold and purchased in markets, on online platforms, on these deep faces wherein you have a lot of media deep fakes, and you tend to believe that whatever is there on the deep fake sites is true, is real and natural. So you find a lot of people being trafficked from one place to another. Then they move from one place to another with a trafficker, maybe in want of a better lifestyle, in want of a better future, or maybe just a hope that my time will change. So people move from one place to another. It can be due to calamity, it can be due to job search for education purposes. And when you move from one place to another, you are not sure whether you are moving with valid papers. If you are not moving with valid papers, then you are more vulnerable, because if you move without valid papers to another country, then what will you say if your human rights are violated? Will you be able to raise your voice if your human rights, your legal rights, your constitutional rights are violated? No, because you are a criminal there. You will feel that, oh, I have committed a big blunder while coming here, so I cannot raise my voice. And the employer will always tell you, no matter what kind of suffocation, harassment, physical abuse, mental abuse you feel and you suffer, but you will always have a fear that, oh, if I raise my voice, the employer is going to give me to the police. And what will the police do with me? Will I be in foreign jails for years? Then we have online platforms. Even children are using the online platform for education purposes. So do you think that children only use it for educational purposes, or we as youngsters, we as adults only use mobile phones, laptops and computers for education? No. It is also for entertainment, it is also for gaming, it is also for social websites, wherein we use Twitter, we use Facebook, we use Reels just to get a like and share. Even a 3-year child will remember like and share. So if you do not click the like and share button, then will your life change? If the answer is yes for today's generation, then this is a big concern, because we are talking about a system where you don't have to move. So in human trafficking, we used to study that one person moves from his location, that is a place where he used to stay. Then one person during the movement, it is transit, because the source is where he is located, the transit is the entire period of travel, and then the destination where he is exactly placed. But in case of online trafficking, what happens? The source is same, the destination is same. There is nobody who is taking you somewhere. There is nobody who is going to your house. But yes, you are being trafficked and you are exposed to different kinds of vulnerabilities and abuses. So the exploitation is happening, but you are not able to understand that, okay, I have been trafficked, and if something happens wrong to you, then you will not be able to come back to your family, to your society, in a fear of self-esteem, in a fear of the family reputation. And then there's also a fear of society, that okay, if I go back to my society, what will people say about my family? What will people say about my friends, my neighbors? How will I face them? So we will be discussing the definition of human trafficking. As I just said, that human beings are not for sale, because we are living in the 5th generation of human rights, and we have our legal rights, constitutional rights and human rights. But still, as I said, human beings are sold and purchased in this world, And this is not only happening in India, this is happening across the globe. So we find cases of human trafficking across the globe. There may be different reasons for human trafficking, but people are being trafficked for maybe labor, for maybe, their organs, for blood, for drugs, for bonded labor, then for slavery, for servitude or similar forms of servitude, then for beggary, for mail order brides, for tourism purposes, for sports purposes. So, we have seen human beings as commodities. So, if a human being is being taken as a commodity, sold and purchased as a commodity, then do we think that his legal rights are violated? If the answer is yes, which is absolutely, the answer will be always be yes. Because, in human trafficking, a basket of your human rights are violated, a basket of your legal rights are violated, and a basket of your constitutional rights are violated. So, Article 21 talks about dignity and worth of an individual. So, what kind of dignity and worth we are talking in case of human trafficking? Are you maintaining that person's dignity if a person is, forced to work without following the labor codes which are well in place in India, without following the human rights doctrines which are there, without following the Protection of Human Rights Act, without adhering to the Convention on the Human Rights, the civil and political rights, then the Economic, Social and Cultural Rights Covenant, without taking into consideration that we are living in the 5th generation of human rights. Yes, we are living in the 5th generation of human rights, and we are not able to achieve basic human rights of the individual because of vulnerability, because of ignorance, because of lack of awareness, and because we are living in the vicious circle of poverty. So we cannot raise our voice, and even if we raise our voice, not heard, physically, emotionally, and mentally, and kept at a place which is called destination. When I say that they are exploited, tortured, and abused physically, emotionally, and mentally, and kept at a place which is called destination, it does not mean that, this is not happening at the source or during the transit. At the source also, the offenses are happening because at the source somebody will lure you, somebody will abduct you, somebody will give you a false promise, somebody will be very good and give you, try to play with emotions, maybe you take control of you, who has power to take control of you, and maybe he will pay some money to your guardian, to your family members to take control of you and will rights. So you are exploited, you are tortured, and you cannot raise your voice because you are trafficked. Now we will be talking about the definition, the recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by means of threat, use of force or other forms of coercion, abduction, of exploitation. So now we will try to understand this definition, because you must be thinking that somebody is recruiting a person, somebody is transferring a person, somebody is transporting a person, somebody is harboring a person, somebody is receiving the person. And the means are by using threat, by using force, by using coercion, by fraud, abduction, abuse of power, abuse of vulnerability, and lurement. Forced labor, the purpose can be, hazardous employment where you need a person to work. The purpose can be for slavery. The purpose is illegal activity and employment. It can be beggary or organ trade, by abduction, force, undue pressure, deception, by luring that person. And what is the purpose of doing all these things? So you are recruiting a person for sexually abusing that person. You are recruiting a person for, keeping that person as a domestic. So you take control of them by their parents, and then you become their parents, their masters, and they become your slave. So for 18 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours the children are forced to work in your factory, and they are staying in a dingy room with no sanitation facilities, and many a time they are exposed to so much of drugs, because in the bidi udyog, the children are sleeping also at the same place and working also at the same place. It only applies to children. This will be wrong. Even the youngsters, even the adults are sleeping at the same place, staying at the same place, and working for more than 20 hours in some cases. So, if a person is, you are forced to stay in the same location with or without your family, then it is something which is hampering your health. A situation where I move from one place to another, and the new place is an unknown place to me. I have no surroundings, with no people to talk to, nobody understands my language, and not a businessman who wants to generate profit out of my vulnerability. So the domestic legislations do not follow the same language, but they have to see the intent of this protocol and make a legislation in the respective countries so that human trafficking is not practiced in that country. So we have seen the definition, and now we know that we have a legislation in India to address the issue of human trafficking. Respond effectively to trafficking, which occurs both across borders and within the country, is for a range of exploitative purpose, victimizes children, women and men, not just women or adults but also men and children, take place with or without the involvement of organized crime groups. So this is very important, that you are a place where you do not move. So at the same place the child is exploited. He shares his videos, his images, and then he is exploited. So the child is not moving from his room, from his home, but the child is exploited. A lady, a man is exploited in pornography. So we don't have to move in trafficking. This is the dynamics of the new technology. So we have technology, we have AI tools. So how best? Because you can change your face, you can change your voice, you can change your location, address. So you can manipulate a lot of things. So I should be knowing technology, and I should know the best use of technology. Do we leave our children in schools without educating them how to go to school? And if the answer is no, because everybody every parent will like to train the child how to go to school, what will happen in school, how to sit and eat, how to drink your milk or juice, how to eat your food in the school. Then the teacher will tell the child how to write, how to understand or recognize the colors, how to speak. So in the family the child learns all these things. But do we train the children how to use technology, how to use mobile? It is just not that you open your mobile and give it to a child. No, you have to train that child. You have to train legally within or across borders by means of threat or use of force or the forms of coercion, of abduction, of fraud, of deception, of the abuse of power, or of a position of vulnerability, or of giving or receiving payments or benefits to achieve the consent of a person having control over another person for monetary gain or otherwise. So again we will understand this with the help of the child. So you procure a person, you recruit a child, you transport a child, you transfer a child, you harbor or receive a child. And the means are threat, force, coercion, abduction, fraud, deception. and the purpose is to gain monetary for illegal purposes, to misuse the vulnerability of that person, to sell that person, and for exploitation. So here you have to understand that whenever we do trafficking, the main purpose is exploitation. It can be for labor exploitation, it can be for sexual exploitation, it can be, for blood, it can be for children, it can be for traveling or tourism, it can be, for drugs, it can be for begar or beggary. So the forms are different, but the purpose is same, that you want to really violate a person's human rights, legal rights, and constitutional right for making your profits. So you have to earn your profit, and what will you do? You will exploit the person's vulnerability. Now comes the definition of human trafficking as per the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanghita 2023. So this is the latest law which has come up, and this also defines human trafficking. In section 143(1), it says, whoever for the purpose of exploitation recruits, transports, harbors, transfers, or receive a person or persons by using threat, using force, or any other form of coercion, or by abduction, by practicing fraud, deception, abuse of power, or by inducement, including the giving or receiving of payments or benefits, in order to achieve the consent of any person having control over the person recruited, transported, harbored, transferred, or received, commits the offense of trafficking. So we have understood, that whoever recruits, transport, harbors, receive a person by means of threat, force, abduction, then coercion, then using that person's vulnerability for exploiting that person sexually, physically, mentally, culturally, then that person is a trafficker. And the explanation talks about exploitation, which includes any act of physical exploitation, any form of sexual exploitation, slavery, practices similar to slavery, servitude, or the forced removal of organs. So this is very important, that when we talk about exploitation, it not only includes physical exploitation, but also includes mental exploitation, sexual exploitation, then psychological exploitation, and the consent of the victim is immaterial in determining the offense of trafficking. So you cannot say that that person has given consent to be exploited. No. Consent is not a free consent if it is for illegal purposes and if it is to exploit that person. So, human rights are inherent in every human being. They are universal. So I cannot give away my human rights to a person for money, for, because I am vulnerable or my family is vulnerable. So I cannot give away my human rights. So it is irrelevant whether you have taken consent to abuse that person, to exploit that person or not. This consent is not free consent as defined in the Indian Contract Act. Now we will talk about punishment. The punishment is of rigorous imprisonment, and the person will also be liable to fine. Now you will be looking at the chart wherein when a person commits trafficking and is guilty of committing trafficking, then the minimum punishment is 7 years, the maximum punishment is 10 years, and the punishment is rigorous imprisonment in all cases along with fine. If you traffic more than one person, then the minimum punishment is 10 years and the maximum is imprisonment for life. If you traffic children, then the minimum punishment becomes 14 years and the maximum is imprisonment for life. If you are convicted more than once for child trafficking, then you will be, the minimum punishment is imprisonment for life and the maximum is that till you are alive you will be in the lockup. And This is also rigorous imprisonment, and the court will also award fine. So, we have understood the definition of human trafficking in the protocol, Article 3. Then we have also discussed the definition of child trafficking under the Goa Children Act, Section 2Z. And now we have also discussed the definition of human trafficking in the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. You cannot exploit a person, and if you find anybody who is exploiting any other person, then do raise an alarm and contact your police to report them, because it's important that when we see, one has to understand that a person who has been trafficked is not a criminal, but a person is a victim, and you should always consider his and say that we are living in the 5th generation of human rights. Hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you.